This is a server file. You must have a server file which runs the request. You can choose to ignore or ignore step, but we just implemented it. So this server file, I'll explain that. Let me start with the functionality first. Then I'll explain how it works. All right. So I'm serving the project. Let us wait for it to build the modules. Here it is. So we navigate to projects. Here now we can view all the projects. So to view projects, we run gate requests. If I come to developer options, and here you can see we're running a get request to this endpoint where we are getting, let me see the preview. Now this is the data that we're getting. We're getting an array and an associative array where the objects inside, the objects inside are the projects. Okay, for now let's say we add a project here in the main website. Let's say now this the client test project, this one. All right, now let's create a new project. Create. Let's reload the client project. Right, that happens. Right, okay, look there, client test project. Right, it's created too. So, and if you come here to our site, we should get them client test project. Right, look at it, beautiful. See how they are. The UI updates automatically. That's something that I added as an add-on. The UI updates automatically whenever any project is added. Okay, now let's delete them. As you can see, they're here. There are two client test project, plan test project, and here there are two. Now let's say we delete them both. If we delete them both and come back to our website, you can see they're not here. They are deleted automatically. So I've seen this project with the main API, and that was the assignment. Okay, so now we created a project using these main I can say the API that we were given to refer to. Now let's create a project using our application. Now this project test from application. Now create project. Right, beautiful. Now if you come down here, you can see we have project test from application. And if we come to the main refer to project, and we go to the last page, we can see we have project test from application. So it's working. So let's open this project. This project test from application. Okay, as you can see, we have no slide. But now let's create a slide. Now this test slide main, we can choose to input an image. Okay, for now, let's just put this screenshot. Nice. Okay, for the height and weight is updated automatically, so that's okay. Submit. As you can see here, we have no implementation say we have finished submitting. That's why we have to reload to get the latest data. I don't know why we're not getting the. Okay, let us try recreate it. Okay, look, it's come. You can see there, and it even has the image. So if you come here back to application, and we tap view, so you can see we get a slide and its name test slide main. We can add in dimensions here, but I found there is no need of adding them there. So you can see we get the slide and the name test slide main. And if you come here, it's test slide main. Here's number one, and if you open it, you can see the image. Okay, now let's add a slide from our application. Okay, if you tap a slide, you can see you get a form where you can add a slide. So this is a slide main from, let's say, localhost. Because it's in localhost, as you can see, local 80. Now, the implementation of the image was optional, but let's just add it because I already implemented, and they said when you add the image implementation, you get more marks. So let's add the screenshot of this image here. And as you can see, it's come there now. So the image we just have to fill, let's say 100 by 100, and then we click submit. So okay, so we just have to wait for some time. Let's just reload. So I mean, it took some time to add a slide. So that's not really that's very petty. It's not a problem from our side. It's a problem from the API side. It took some time to register, and the slide man is added. But we can wait. Let's wait a little bit for. Okay, now you can see here we have slides test from localhost. And now if we load our project, let's reload and wait for the projects to come. We come here to project test from application and tab view and wait for the projects to load. Okay, there's some latency because the application has to run the API call from the local host to the endpoint to get the data. So that's why we have some latency in getting the project files, in getting the project guides. And okay, as you can see here now we have the sliders from localhost and if we tap edit, you can see the image we added. The width was 100 and the height was 100. So the post to the slides is working. Okay, so now we get two slides. Here's the test slide that we added from the main project, and here is the picture that we added from our application from own application in the local host. So this is how it works for for every project. But the time you tap here, it will take some time to load. Don't worry about this. This is because view hash hasn't built captions, so it usually this value until we get some new data. Okay, so maybe this project doesn't even have slides. So we can check a project that already has slides like uh, projects. Let's say these new project. If we come here and view project, okay, let's take some time to load. Okay, as you can see, these has 4 slides. It takes some time to load, so you have to be patient. So if we come to this our project and view the project, if we come to our project, reload, wait for the projects to be fetched from the endpoint. I don't know, it's taking some time. As you can see, we have no error in the console. So this new project can tap view and wait for it to get the slides. You just have to wait for some time because it has some latency. It has some latency in requesting the data from the API. But you can see here they are, and then there's no image. I've added this functionality to tell us that there's no image. Okay, this new project, and if we come here to a new project, you can see this attest that this is attest to. And if we open it, you can see the same image here. So our application is working perfect. Okay, we can try to add a slide here. Let's add our slide here. Now let's say injected slide. We choose an image. Let's say we choose this beautiful image there. The height we maybe put by 100 by 200, and then we click it. I know it's running into an error, but the project has to be submitted. Okay, now here we load. Right? So these are stock images found on website. So let's reload this project and view it. So we have to wait a bit for it to fetch the project. As you can see now we injected slide, and if we open the injected slide, we get the image. And here we get the injected slide, and the image is this. Okay, so it's working. Now let's get into the code and explain how it's get to do what it does. So I'll just minimize this. Let me know. Okay, here we have a basic view of project layout. As you can see, I'm using Tailwind CSS, and there's nothing related to this project. But now here we have in the root file, we have the server.js. If I open this file, you can see we are using Express and Axios. Now these are not the packages that enable us to run requests to API endpoints. You can see this is the API endpoint that you are given. Now we were given. So if a user sends a GET request to this route in our application, this method will be triggered and it will get data from this endpoint. Now, if it gets data from the endpoint, it sends the to the endpoint point of the since it's the local host of this, I can say of this URL. Okay, for example, if now we go to localhost 3000, and we go to slash API slash projects. This one, we should get a JSON object or contain all projects. Like you see here now, we get the projects here. So after the data is sent there, we use the client side JavaScript to get the data. That's how the endpoint works. So if we pose the same to the same endpoint, this method is trigger pose the data to this. Now we change the data to JSON format and give it a JSON header of content type. Now we allow access origin so that the headers can be validated. So this was like for development purposes. So I don't think it's needed, but then as you can see, the extra effort. So these two methods are used to send and get data about the project, which was the name and I think the ID or what the name and the ID. So to post data, you just need the name. You don't post the ID. The ID is assigned automatically in the backend. So we don't need that while posting. That's why here you can see there's no ID here we are posting. But when we are getting, we get everything including the ID. So that's okay. Now we go to the one that gets the slides. To get the slides, we add a variable here. So this ID can vary. The ID we pass into here determines the slides we are getting. So if you pass the ID 5, you'll get the slides for the project with an ID of 5. So that was the idea. So that's how it works. Now we run the gate from the main endpoint and we pass in the ID as a parameter. So that's how the method works. And to post, it just works the same way. So this was for development purposes so that I can see errors saved there over there and fix them. So this to listen to a port, this opens upwards. So these are the variables we're using. I think that's clear. So let's go to the source folder. The public folder just has index.html that has a division up where where I can say all the code will be injected into. So that's right. Now let's close that one. Now, now the project, I can see the main functionality is here. Now as you can see in the app view, in the app component we have imported a project form and a project list. So the project form is the one that we're using to create the project form. I'm going to show you it's this one here. This is just the project form. This is the upper part. Now the project form is used to create the project. So at submit, we create the project. So we run that function create project. And here is methods create project. The create project takes an m parameter and passes it as a JSON to the endpoint, which is localhost API project. So I had already explained that in the server file. So if there's an error, it will log out an error after running. It will fetch the latest data after adding a project. So that's correct. Then here we have a project list component. This project list takes in projects text in project array for each. So for each project as a project, we have to display this component. And here it is, the project array that we get. So I think that's it. So yeah, this is the method that is used to get the project from localhost. As you can see, I've added the URL here. Here's the URL which we have the JSON file containing all of the projects. So we go to slides. The slides I implemented them in project slides component. I mean, so this file is a bit long, but it gets the job done. I think I'll just explain the method because the HTML is pretty forward. So here, this data function is the one that is used to initialize every variable that we have. So as you can see, we have selected project ID that monitors the ID of the project that we want to view the slides array because each project can have multiple slides. We have selected slide ID, the selected slide image, text, slide form. No, this slideshow form is used to monitor if the form is closed or open. So for example, this form here, if we open it, it becomes true. If we close it, it becomes false. So slide description, slide height and width. This is a view project, takes an ID of the project, and it opens the slide. It gets the slide. So this method, that's why it runs. I think this is straightforward. So here we have the method to encode the image to base64. So this method takes in a file when event is triggered. So if we click the submit button, it will get the file that we are submitting and convert it and encode it to base64. And we'll turn the file as base64, which is basically what we're using to post to the endpoint. Okay, now this is the submit slides form. Now this takes a project ID and submit a slide. And this is CSS. So that's the end of the implementation, the video walkthrough.